Hi, I'm your host Amadeus Rosita and welcome to part 2 of 9 different types of hauntings. In this video we will discuss shadow people, spirit attachments, portals or gateway hauntings, time slips and psychic or energy imprints. And let's dive straight in because there's a lot to discuss and we start with shadow people. Before I continue, I want to explain something about this topic. Shadow people are a fascinating and often mysterious topic. The difficulty with this topic is there are as many opinions about the shadow people as there have been sightings. It is a relatively new type of haunting and it gained some notoriety in the beginning of the 21st century, and so far it seems that there's not a strong conviction one way or the other about what they are, why they are here and what they can do. And while I have had some personal experiences with them, I wouldn't say I have a deep expertise in this area. So what I'll be sharing today is based mostly on research. I have looked into various perspectives and chosen the information that seemed to be the most commonly accepted. But in the end, shadow people remain a speculative phenomenon with no definite explanation yet. But as always, I encourage you to explore and trust your own experiences as well. What are shadow people? Well, they are often described as dark, human-shaped, shadow-like entities without any distinct features that appear in your peripheral vision or sometimes directly in front of people. Unlike regular spirits, shadow people are often associated with feelings of fear, dread, or unease. Some believe they are spirits, interdimensional beings, or even negative entities, while others think they may be a trick of the mind. Their true nature remains a mystery. You can recognize them because they have dark humanoid shapes, and they are often seen as fleeting shadows in the corner of your eye, or standing still in a doorway, or in a corner or on the darker edges of a forest. They often appear as a solid black mass rather than a transparent figure. Many people report seeing them dart quickly out of sight when noticed, and unlike spirits, they rarely have facial expressions or clothing details. Some experience sleep paralysis when encountering shadow figures, feeling unable to move. Here's an example. You're walking through a hallway and briefly see a dark figure out of the corner of your eye, but when you turn to look, it's gone. And you may feel that it was watching you or even following you. And on occasion, shadow people are seen outside as well, but mostly at the edge of a dark tree line. And I do want to say that the following is not restricted to just the phenomenon of shadow people, because like with most other hauntings, you might have a strong gut feeling that something is off in the space, or have an unsettling sensation that someone is observing you. Sometimes your pets may growl, bark, or stare at the spot where nothing visible is present. And not all shadow people are considered negative, but they do tend to carry a mysterious or unsettling presence. It is never a good idea to call out spirits without proper protection, so don't go running around yelling, "Come on, show yourself." Don't use the Ouija or spirit board. If you do not know what you're doing, a Ouija board is basically an open invitation to anything that is around. And if you do use the board, you've created a portal and you need to make sure you properly shut it down. You shouldn't leave any spiritual work incomplete. If you do an energy cleansing, finish it. And if you have opened a portal, you need to close it. The best way to deal with shadow people is more or less the same as you would do with all types of hauntings. Shadow entities are often associated with lower vibrational energies. Practices like meditation, gratitude, and positive affirmations can help raise your frequency, making it harder for them to affect you. Cleanse your space on a regular basis, and you can use smoke like sage or Palo Santo. You can use salt by sprinkling it around your home or keeping a bowl of salt next to your bed. You can use sound cleansing, that is just ringing a bell or even clapping in the corners to break up stagnant energy. You can also use protective crystals. Commanding your space with confidence is important. Fear can attract low vibrational entities, so speak out loud or say in your mind, I do not allow any negative or uninvited energies in my space. Another one is you should call on protection. If you work with angels, spirit guides, or deities, ask them for protection. Archangel Michael is particularly known for shielding against negative entities. Many encounters happen when people are in a fearful or emotionally low state. Shadow beings may feed off fear, so strengthening your mindset and staying calm can weaken their influence. But regardless of everything we just talked about, shadow people remain one of the more intriguing and debated phenomena in paranormal and spiritual circles. But there are some common theories about shadow people that I would like to share with you. Some people believe shadow people are spirits, interdimensional beings, or even demons. Their dark appearance and sudden movements contribute to the mystery. Another theory suggests that shadow people could be energetic imprints from past events, similar to residual hauntings. And then there are people that suggest that shadow people may be beings from another plane of existence, briefly crossing into our reality. Scientifically, some experiences with shadow people align with sleep paralysis, where a person wakes up but cannot move, often accompanied by hallucinations. Others believe the brain may simply misinterpret shadows and movement due to dim lights. And then you have people that say stress, fatigue, or even electromagnetic influences can play tricks on the mind, making people perceive figures in the dark that aren't actually there. Honestly, I personally do not believe this to be a valid theory, but that's just me. The next type of haunting we will discuss is a spirit attachment, and that can cover a lot of happenings. A spirit attachment occurs when the spirit of a deceased person latches on to a living person, place, or object, and this can happen for a variety of reasons, such as unfinished business, strong emotional connections, or traumatic events. Spirit attachments can cause disturbances such as strange thoughts, emotions, or physical sensations. The attached spirit might influence the personal place in subtle ways, and in some cases, it may lead to emotional or physical problems for the living person. Here's an example. A person feels drawn to an old bracelet and decides to buy it. After bringing it home, they start experiencing unexplained happenings, unexplained noises, or even mood swings. This could indicate that the object has the energy or spirit connected to it of a previous owner who became attached to it and, in turn, can even become attached to the new owner. Dealing with a spirit attachment can be intense and sometimes frightening, especially if the energy feels draining or disruptive. And whether you're helping someone else or managing your own experience, it is important to stay grounded, calm, and respectful. Don't panic or react with fear. Fear can feed the attachment or give it more power. It can also cloud your judgment and attract more low vibrational energy. But let's start with what not to do when dealing with a spirit attachment. Yelling, commanding in anger, or challenging the spirit, like show yourself or what do you want, that can escalate things unnecessarily. And remember, not all spirit attachments are malicious. Some are confused or lost or simply trying to connect. Labeling everything as evil can block intuitive understanding. And while you shouldn't give it energy through fear, ignoring it completely when it's clearly affecting someone's energy or behavior is not helpful either. If you're inexperienced or you feel overwhelmed, don't try to deal with it solo. Seek guidance from someone who is grounded and spiritually experienced. Like with all the other hauntings that we have discussed, it is important to stay calm and to make sure you're not only grounded but also work on your protection. In the Amare video, Spiritual Protection, I discuss several techniques, and if you are interested or you would like to know more about grounding and protection, I would advise you to go and watch that video. But very quickly, here are some of the highlights. What I would advise in any type of haunting is to call in help from your spiritual team. Invite the Archangel Michael, your spirit guides or ancestors to assist. State clearly that only beings of love and light are welcome in your space. Be firm, clear, but respectful in your communication. Say aloud or mentally, you do not belong here. You need to return to the light or move on to your rightful place. You are not allowed to stay. And then, of course, cleansing. You can either cleanse the person, the object, or the space. And you can do that by using smoke or sound, salt, or even holy water. And you can also place protective crystals. And it doesn't really matter what you do or where you are. You need to keep your own vibration as high as possible. And you can do this through rest, nature, spiritual practice. And make sure you cleanse yourself and your space after you had your clients. We're going to move on to the next topic, which is portal or a gateway haunting. What is a portal or a gateway haunting? Well, these portals, they may occur naturally due to the energy or history of a place and act as a bridge or doorway between our world and the spirit world, and thus allowing spirits or entities to move freely between realms. And this can lead to the entry of multiple spirits, energies, or entities which may cause disturbances. Unlike a regular haunting, which involves a specific spirit or spirits lingering in one place, a portal haunting can bring multiple entities in and out, making the activity unpredictable and varied. Here are three key signs of a portal haunting. Unlike a traditional haunting where one or a few spirits are consistently present, a portal haunting involves different entities appearing at different times. The energy may feel chaotic and activity levels can fluctuate dramatically. You may feel sudden, intense temperature drops or shifts in energy, especially in a specific location. Some areas might feel like they are buzzing with energy, as if something is passing through. You might see objects moving, shadow figures, or strange sounds consistently occurring in the same area, and that suggests an active portal. You may also notice time distortions, feelings of being watched, or even unusual dreams linked to that location. I personally have experienced such a portal haunting and made a video about it. Although it was made for Halloween on request, everything in the video, the whole scary experience, is 100% true. I will place the link in the description just in case you might be interested. Imagine a family that moves into a house and starts experiencing different types of paranormal activity, all in one specific area. Sometimes they hear whispers, other times they see shadow figures. One night they see a tall, dark figure standing in the doorway, but a week later a completely different spirit, like a small child, appears in the same spot. If you would have a paranormal investigator in your house, it is very likely that they will notice a strong energy vortex in that specific area where the activity is noticed, and EMF readings can spike unexpectedly. It is also possible to record different voices on EVP sessions, not just one entity communicating. The activity isn't tied to a particular spirit, but instead a revolving door of different spirits coming and going for different reasons. Having to deal with a portal, and from personal experience I can say, can be extremely difficult because you simply do not know who or what is using that portal. And that brings us what not to do when you are dealing with a portal haunting. Never approach or attempt to interact with a portal without strong spiritual protection. These areas can be gateways to unknown energies, some of which may be malevolent or even parasitic. If possible, don't show any fear and don't be aggressive. Fear feeds many of the entities that come through portals. Aggression can provoke reactions, so stay calm and firm in your energy. It is very easy, of course, to blame every noise or odd feeling on a portal, but not all spiritual activity is portal related. Misdiagnosing the source can lead to ineffective or even harmful attempts at resolution. Always observe patterns and rule out other causes like residual energy or spirit attachments or environmental factors. But you can protect yourself. You can use protective crystals like black tourmaline or obsidian and invoke the Archangel Michael or other protective guides. Shielding is your first priority. Like I said before, I have made a Halloween movie and the experience is honestly 100% true. Not one word is made up, and it was not until I asked the angels to help and step in that everything changed for the better. And try to identify the nature of the portal. Is it natural or created? Sometimes a portal isn't harmful in itself, but it attracts lower energy. Assessing helps guide what steps are needed. And like with many other hauntings, claim your space with confidence and state out loud or in a ritual, "This is my home, and no being is allowed to enter through this space without my explicit invitation." Intention is power and it does work, but in some extreme cases it is not always enough and you will need some extra help and you will need to seek help from an experienced practitioner. Because portal hauntings are not beginner level spiritual work, reach out to someone who specializes in spirit removal, house clearing or energy grid work. Ask around and do not be afraid to ask for referrals or credentials. But this was the chapter about portals, and the next topic I have to say is not really a haunting, but I have added it because I find it absolutely fascinating. And that topic is time slips. Time slip is when someone suddenly and briefly experiences a different time period, as if they have stepped into the past or future. It feels real, like they are physically there, but then all of a sudden they snap back to the present. People who experience time slips often describe seeing historical scenes, people in old-fashioned clothes, or even changes in buildings and surroundings. It's like accidentally walking into a different time for a very short moment. And how fascinating is that? And you can recognize them because they are often described as moments where the fabric of time seems to break down, allowing individuals to witness or experience moments from the past, and it does feel like actually being in another time period. It is not happening in a dream or meditation, but most often it happens while doing something very normal, like taking a walk, and this can be both in a familiar or unfamiliar area. Can you imagine that you're walking through a familiar area, but suddenly you're witnessing in real time an event from the past, like people in historical clothing, or you're seeing buildings that no longer exist in the present day? And according to the stories I've read about this phenomena, it seems that the people in the other time period do seem to be aware of the other party as well. One of the most well-known time-slip experiences is the one known as the Moberly-Jourdain incident. This involves Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain, two English academics who in 1901 claimed to have experienced a time-slip at the Petit Trianon in the grounds of the Palace of Versailles. They reported seeing the gardens as they appeared in the late 18th century and encountering figures from that era, including Marie Antoinette. If you would be so lucky to experience a time slip, acknowledge the experience, but don't focus on trying to change or control it. Try to take in as much as you can and afterwards make a voice note or write down your experiences in as much detail as you can. There is literally nothing you can do, it just happens. But I wanted to include it because this has fascinated me throughout the years. Although I've never met anybody who actually went through such an experience, unfortunately. And just as a little note, no, it's not a deja vu. And that brings us to the next topic, which is also the last one. And this topic has a lot of similarities with the residual haunting, but it is different. We will have a look at this topic in a slightly different way from how we presented the other ones, and we will focus mainly on the differences between the two. And that is psychic or energy imprints. Psychic or energy imprints are caused by lingering strong emotions, some negative like fear, anger, or sadness, but positive emotions like happiness can also leave an imprint. With a psychic or an energy imprint, there's an emotional overload without a trigger, but there's no sound, no vision. And residual hauntings are more than just emotional, they also have physical or auditory activities. It is a common belief that only sensitive people can notice a psychic or an energy imprint, but personally, I'm not so sure, because that's true for many kinds of energy, isn't it? It just goes to show that beliefs and experiences can really vary from person to person, from one incident to the next, and even depending on the type of energy that is involved. Unlike residual hauntings who follow a loop, same time or same place, this feels more random. It is not a repeating scene. As you can see, psychic and energy imprints and residual hauntings are very closely related. They often overlap in how they appear, but they have key differences. Both hauntings happen when intense emotions or repeated energy leaves a non-conscious recording in a space, creating echoes of the past that replay in the environment. The difference lies in how they are experienced. Psychic imprints are usually felt emotionally or intuitively by sensitive people, while residual hauntings are more often seen or heard on a physical level, like footsteps or apparitions, but neither involves an active spirit or an intelligent presence. Imagine that you walk into, let's say, an old hospital ward or even just a room where someone once grieved deeply, and out of the blue, you just suddenly feel very emotional for no specific reason, and you even feel like crying for no reason at all. And that is what a psychic imprint is. Even though there are no spirits or ghosts connected to this type of haunting, what you shouldn't do is ignoring it. Although it is said that only sensitive people feel the energy, some people are more sensitive than they think they are, especially when they are going through a hard time already. Or what about kids? They are in general way more sensitive than we adults are. But what you can do is cleanse the space, and there's no need to be afraid because there are no active spirits present. And a cleansing can be done very simply. You can do that by airing out the room or using bells or sounds like clapping in your hands, or you can burn sage. Don't be shy to ask for help if you feel insecure. Most spiritual workers are very familiar with removing negative energy. Now, before I go, I want to share something with you that is a little proven fact about burning sage. On a scientific level, burning sage, and especially white sage, releases negative ions in the air, and negative ions can neutralize positive ions who are often associated with stress, allergens, and pollutants, and that way you're creating a cleaner, calmer environment that many associate with clearing negative energy. I have one final bit of advice that I want to share with you. Keep in mind that the spiritual field is full of wonder, but it's also deeply personal. There's often no scientific proof, and most of what we know comes from personal experience or what others have shared. And because of that, experiences can vary greatly from person to person. And that is why it's so important to stay curious, keep learning, and always keep an open mind. Don't take anything as absolute truth just because someone says it with confidence. And yes, that includes me. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and trust your own journey. That's where real wisdom grows. Well, that's it. That's the end of part 2. I hope you liked the video and please give a like and subscribe. Really, it does make a difference. Bye!